Hi and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today's video I will be showing some John Lennon UK 45s, so please come and join me. So hello and a wonderfully warm welcome again to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Hope I find all you fantastic Beatles people doing really well out there, and thank you for joining me again today on the channel. Well, today's video I'm going to be showing you guys a complete collection of UK John Lennon 45s from between 1969 and 1975, which were all his Apple singles before his contract with EMI expired. Also though, and quite unbelievable, none of these releases in the UK ever made it to #1, which actually I find incredibly astounding. I will also be covering at some later date Paul, George and Ringo's UK 45s, in case you guys were wondering as well. So anyway though, that will be coming up very shortly, but before then it's time for something a little bit different. It's Ask BeatleDave, yeah! So yes, welcome to Ask BeatleDave, where I'll be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related, about maybe anything I've shown or haven't shown, maybe something to do with the guys' solo careers, just about anything that you can think of, and I'll endeavour to answer it right here. So today's question is from Nick Elias. Hiya Nick, hope you're all fine and dandy out there, mate. And he asks, BeatleDave, which Ringo movie is your favourite, and for that matter, which Beatles movie is your favourite also? Okay then, so let's start with the second part of that question relating to the Beatles movies. And to be honest, I love all the Fabs films that they made through the 60s, but the one that I feel really defines them and really captures that Beatlemania and essence in that particular time, it's got to be A Hard Day's Night. Now the scriptwriter Alan Owen actually spent a lot of time with the guys at the time, and he seemed to capture that energy and rawness and just the characters of the guys. Just such a great film. So on to the Ringo Starr part of the question, and I quite like a lot of Ringo's films, including Candy, Blind Man, The Magic Christian and Son of Dracula, but my all-time favourite of his has to be the 1973 film That'll Be the Day, also starring David Essex. Now it's a really great film with a really youthful looking Ringo who plays a guy called Mike working at a holiday camp. Now I always thought it was a bit of a shame that Ringo didn't carry on his role in the follow-up film Stardust, but actually Adam Faith did a really good job. So guys, if you haven't seen these films, they are both definitely worth a watch, especially That'll Be the Day. So Nick, my friend, I really hope that answered your question for you, and guys, if you want to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, just send me a question in the comments and I'll include it in a future episode. It's that simple. So come on guys, please me by asking me some super questions. Okay then, so moving on now, it's time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to them old shout outs, and it's a great big BeatleDave hello to Beatle Brad. Hiya Brad mate, hope you're well. 49 APS, JMad627, John Mates, Talk and Roll 1, Hayward Jr. Hiya Hayward, hope you're well mate. James McKay and Andrew Haddon. So that's a great big hi to you guys from yours truly, BeatleDave. So on to the main event then today guys, and I present to you a collection of John Lennon's UK 45s from 1969 to 1975. So please, come and join me. John Lennon's solo singles career began on the 4th of July 1969, with his first release being the global anthem Give Peace a Chance by the Plastic Ono Band, reaching #2 in the UK charts, with the song being credited to the Lennon-McCartney partnership. The follow-up single, Cold Turkey, was submitted to the Beatles, then instantly turned down by McCartney. The controversial song was released in October 1969, which led John to return his MBE, also citing the blame on Cold Turkey slipping down the charts. John Lennon began the 1970s being the first ex-Beatle to perform on Top of the Pops with the song Instant Karma, which took only 10 days from recording to single release. After the public demise of the Beatles, then later in the year their Primal Scream sessions, this eventually led to both John and Yoko's Plastic Ono Band LP releases in late 1970. 1971 began with the Power to the People release, and later in the year a USA release of Happy Christmas War Is Over, which would eventually get a UK release in 1972. By 1973, John's single sales had started to decline, with his only release that year being Mind Games in November, which only reached number 26. His follow-up in 1974 of Whatever Gets You Through the Night, his duet with Elton John, performed even worse, hitting number 36, although in the USA the single had reached the number 1 position, making John the last ex-Beatles member to hit the top spot in the singles charts. The start of 1975 saw the second single release pulled from the album Wars and Bridges, with the beautifully crafted dreamy song Number 9 Dream, which fared slightly better than his last 2 UK single releases, but still only managed to climb to number 23. The penultimate John Lennon U.K. release was the Ben E. King cover of the track Stand By Me, which was recorded during the turbulent and disorganised rock and roll sessions, with Phil Spector even disappearing with the master tapes at one point. John Lennon's final UK 45 release of the 1970s and his most well-known song was released on the 24th of October 1975 and coupled together Imagine with Working Class Hero and actually managed to reach a very respectable number 5, even though the song was already 4 years old since the initial release of the Imagine album in 1971. So let's take a look. So here is then John Lennon's UK 45s from 1969 to 1975, starting with Give Peace a Chance with Remember Love on the B-side, recorded by the Plastic Ono Band, released on the 4th of July 1969 on Apple Records, catalogue number Apple 13. So starting with the sleeve then, and of course at the top there you've got Give Peace a Chance with Remember Love on the B-side. And you've got some tubes set up with microphone stands and tape recorders and electronical equipment there. And at the bottom you've got Plastic Ono Band and Apple 13. And on the back there it's exactly the same, but you've got Remember Love in the big writing there, with Give Peace a Chance slightly smaller, with the same photo, and Plastic Ono Band, the Apple logo and Apple 13. Really great condition, this one, really hard to find now in all these picture covers of the time. But that one's in fabulous condition. So onto the vinyl then. And this one's in absolutely superb condition. Of course it reached number 2 in the UK charts. And it was recorded in Canada at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal on the 1st of June 1969. With the likes of people like Tommy Smothers, Petula Clark and Timothy Leary, to name but a few. But this is in absolutely tremendous condition, this single. You've got the sold in UK details there, with the Apple 13 on the left, and produced by John and Yoko, with the P1969. And on the right there you've got the recording details in Montreal, Canada. And of course at the bottom you've got Give Peace a Chance, Lennon McCartney, and the Plastic Ono Band. Really nice condition that. Let's flip that over. Onto Yoko's side. You've got the sold in UK details there again, with on the left Apple 13, produced by John and Yoko, with the P1969 on the left. And you've got the same details recorded in Montreal, Canada, on the right hand side there, with Remember Love and the Plastic Ono Band. And that's in really lovely condition, that. So on to John's second single then by the Plastic Ono Band, which is Cold Turkey and Don't Worry Kyoko, Mummy's Only Looking for a Hand in the Snow. This was released on the 24th of October 1969 on Apple Records, catalogue number Apple 1001. So a very controversial single, this one, for John. Obviously he sent his MBE back because of the war in Biafra, And of course, obviously Cold Turkey slipping down the charts. But this song actually only reached number 14 in the charts, which wasn't really too bad, but it was quite a controversial single. But it's a really great photo there, really, really clever. Got John's skull there with his outlined glasses on the skull. At the bottom there, you've got Apple's 1001 and the little Apple logo on the right hand side. Apparently there's supposed to be an incredibly rare version of this with both John and Yoko's skulls on the front. I've yet to actually seen one of those, so keep your eyes peeled. I mean, there may be one about. If anybody knows anything about it, I'd love to hear from you. So let's flip that over then. And we've got Plastic Ono Band. Don't worry, Kyoko. Mummy's only looking for a hand in the snow. Cold Turkey there, with Yoko's skull there. And of course at the bottom, Apple's 1001 and the Apple logo on the right hand side. So onto the vinyl then. And of course on this single, you've been instructed to play loud. And this was recorded on the 30th of September 1969 at Abbey Road with Eric Clapton, Klaus Voormann and of course Ringo Starr on drums. You've got the catalogue number on the left there, Apple's 1001, with the Northern Songs Limited and the P1969 there. We're produced by John and Yoko, and at the bottom, Cold Turkey, written by John Lennon, the Plastic Ono Band. So let's flip that over. Onto Yoko's side there. Once again, you've got the catalogue number on the left, with the Apple Publishing Limited details and the P1969. We're produced by John and Yoko, and of course at the bottom, the title, Don't Worry Kyoko, and Yoko Ono credit there. But this is in absolutely mint condition. So into 1970 and onto John's third single, which is Instant Karma, with the B-side being Who Has Seen the Wind by John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band, released on the 6th of February 1970 on Apple Records, catalogue number Apple's 1003. So pretty stark cover this one. We just got Lennon, Instant Karma and the catalogue number there, Apple's 1003. Then on the reverse, you've got Ono, Who Has Seen the Wind, with Apple's 1003 again. So onto the vinyl, and of course this was recorded, remixed and released in about 10 days, which is absolutely incredible. And it's actually recorded on the 27th of January 1970 at Abbey Road, with George Harrison, Klaus Voormann, Alan White on drums and Billy Preston in attendance. Of course there you're being instructed to play loud again, with on the left you've got Apple's 1003. And also you've got produced by Phil Spector there on the left with the P1970. And on the right you've got Lennon Ono with the Plastic Ono Band there. And play loud in the centre with Instant Karma at the bottom. I'm going to flip that over. And on Yoko's side we've got Play Quiet. And on the left you've got that catalogue number again, Apple's 1003, produced by John Lennon, with P1970 there on the left. Then on the right you've got Lennon Ono with the Plastic Ono Band, and Who Has Seen the Wind at the bottom. And once again this one's in absolutely perfect condition. So moving to 1971 then with this particular single, and we've got Power to the People, with the B-side being Open Your Box by John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band, released on the 18th of March 1971 on Apple Records, catalogue number R5892. So onto the cover then, and of course you've got the Apple Records there, R5892 at the top left there, with the picture of John, and Power to the People, John Lennon Plastic Ono Band. Then on the back there we've got the same again, Apple Records R5892, picture of Yoko there, and Open Your Box, and Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band. So onto the vinyl then, and this particular song reached number 6 in the UK charts, and it was recorded around January to February 1971 at John's studio in Tittenhurst Park, which is called Ascot Sound. Had help from Klaus Voormann, Billy Preston, Jim Gordon and Bobby Keys on sax on this particular song. On the left there you got the catalogue number with the Northern Songs details, NCB on the left. And on the right there we got produced by Phil Spector and John and Yoko and the EMI recording. With at the bottom you got Power to the People, John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band. So we're going to flip that over. And on this particular version, as you can see, it's a double A-side version. So they've got both the full-size apples on both sides. So on the left there, you've got the catalogue number with the Ono music on the left. And on the right, produced by John and Yoko, an EMI recording with at the bottom, Open Your Box by Yoko Ono and the Plastic Ono Band. So on to another variation then of the Power to the People and Open Your Box single by John Lennon, Yoko Ono and the Plastic Ono Band. And this is the version where you've got Open Your Box as the A-side. Released on the 18th of March 1971 on Apple Records, catalogue number R5892. And of course this has got the Apple die-cut bag, singles bag. So we've got there Open Your Box as the A-side. Got the catalogue number on the left hand side with the Ono music credits there on the left. And on the right there you've got the produced by John and Yoko with the P 1971. And at the bottom there you've got Yoko Ono and Plastic Ono Band. So we're going to flip that over. And on this side once again you've got the catalogue number on the left with Northern Songs Limited. And on the right there you've got the manufactured in the UK with produced by Phil Spector, John and Yoko and an EMI recording 1971. And at the bottom there you've got Power to the People written by John Lennon with John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band. Not quite sure why they put Yoko's on the A side there and John's is on the B side. Bit of a strange one, but I'm not quite sure why that happened. So on to 1972, and we've got Happy Christmas War Is Over with Listen the Snow Is Falling on the B-side by John and Yoko and the Harlem Community Choir. Released on the 24th of November 1972, it was a year after the USA version on Apple Records, catalogue number R5970. So onto the picture sleeve then. And at the top there you've got the Happy Christmas War Is Over with the picture of John and Yoko and the community choir there, Harlem Community Choir, with John and Yoko, the Plastic Ono Band, with the Harlem Community Choir at the bottom there, with the Apple logo and the catalogue number. So let's flip that over. Then at the top there we got Listen the Snow Is Falling, with the picture of Yoko there, obviously instructing the choir on what to sing. And at the bottom there we got Yoko Ono, the Plastic Ono Band. So onto the vinyl then. And Happy Christmas made number 2 in the UK charts in 1972. And it was recorded in October 1971 at the Record Plant, New York, with Nicky Hopkins on piano, Jim Keltner on the drums, Hugh McCracken on guitar, and May Pang on backing vocals as well. I love the actual way this label goes from John's face to Yoko's, really clever there. On the left there you got 1971, the Gramophone Company Limited, with manufactured in the UK. And all the perimeter text is actually in the centre there, with the catalogue number on the right, and Happy Christmas War Is Over, with John and Yoko, Plastic Ono Band, and the Harlem Community Choir, produced by John, Yoko and Phil Spector at the bottom there. Let's flip that over to Yoko's side. Once again there you've got the same details with all the perimeter text in the centre, with the catalogue number on the right, and the 1971 Apple Publishing Inc. on the left, manufactured in the UK, and Listen the Snow Is Falling by Yoko Ono and the Plastic Ono Band, by Ono Music Limited, produced by Phil, John and Yoko. So on to another variation then of Happy Christmas War Is Over with Listen the Snow Is Falling on the B-side by John and Yoko and the Harlem Community Choir, released on the 24th of November 1972 on Apple Records, catalogue number R5970. So once again the sleeve's exactly the same as the previous one, with Happy Christmas War Is Over at the top there, and the same photograph of John and Yoko and the Harlem Community Choir, with Yoko, John and Yoko, the Plastic Ono Band at the bottom there, and the Harlem Community Choir details with the Apple logo and the catalogue number. And on the back there, Listen the Snow Is Falling, with the picture of Yoko and the Harlem Community Choir there, with Yoko Ono, the Plastic Ono Band at the bottom. So onto the vinyl then, which is a fabulous green vinyl from 1972, 50 years old. And you've got the transformation of John to Yoko on the labels there, of course, with all the perimeter text in the centre, And on the left you've got the 1971 The Gramophone Company Limited, with the manufactured in the UK. The catalogue number on the right, and Happy Christmas War is Over, with John, Yoko and the Plastic Ono Band and the Harlem Community Choir, with that Apple logo there, and produced by John, Yoko and Phil Spector. And flipping that over, you've got all that perimeter text again in the centre, with Apple Records Inc. on the left, 1971, and manufactured in the UK. And on the right there you've got the catalogue number again, with Listen the Snow is Falling by Yoko Ono and the Plastic Ono Band and Ono Music Limited. At the bottom there you've got produced by John, Yoko and Phil Spector. So on to 1973, and one of my favourite John Lennon songs. We've got Mind Games here with Meat City on the B-side by John Lennon, released on the 16th of November 1973 on Apple Records, catalogue number R5994. So quite unbelievably, this single only reached number 26 in the UK charts. Quite astounding really. So you've got Mind Games on top left there with John Lennon. Of course you've got that picture of John, and it looks like a picture of Yoko in John's head there, at the top of John's head. And it's exactly the same on the back side with Mind Games, John Lennon. Of course at the bottom there you've got the Apple logo and the catalogue number. So onto the vinyl then. And of course you've got that catalogue number on the top left there, with John Lennon in small writing under that, with an Apple record, and 1973 EMI Records Limited, manufactured in the UK. With on the right there you got produced by John Lennon and EMI Recording, with Mind Games written by John and John Lennon at the bottom there. So I'm going to flip that over to the B-side, which is Meat City. And of course there's a little backwards message on this particular song, on this particular single should I say, and it actually says see the album. So you have to go to the album version and play that little bit backwards on Meat City, and it reveals a little message which I can't say. You'll have to hear that one for yourself. So once again on the left there you've got the catalogue number with John Lennon, an Apple record, and 1973 EMI Records Limited, and manufactured in the UK. With on the right there produced by John Lennon and EMI Recording, with Meat City, John Lennon the composer, and John Lennon at the bottom. Great single this one, I really like this single. So into 1974 then, and we've got Whatever Gets You Through the Night, with the B-side being Beef Jerky by John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Nuclear Band, released on the 4th of October 1974 on Apple Records, catalogue number R5998. So on to the single then, which has got an Apple die-cut sleeve with it, in great condition. And of course this song only reached number 36 in the UK, which is pretty poor really when you consider that it made number 1 in the US. It's recorded in about July-August 1974 at the record plant in New York, with Elton John on piano and vocal, Jesse Ed Davis on guitar, with Jim Keltner on the drums, Klaus Foreman on the bass, and Bobby Keys on the sax. It's an absolutely fantastic song. Of course on the left there you've got the catalogue number, with the 1974 EMI Records Limited details, and manufactured in the UK, and of course the Plastic Ono Nuclear Band on the left there, with on the right produced by John Lennon and an EMI Recording. And at the bottom there you've got Whatever Gets You Through the Night, with composer John Lennon, and of course John Lennon below that. So let's flip that over to the B-side. You've got the catalogue number on the left, with 1974 EMI Records Limited, manufactured in the UK, with the Plastic Ono Nuclear Band. Then on the right there you've got produced by John Lennon, an EMI Recording, and at the bottom Beef Jerky by John Lennon and John Lennon again. And this one's in absolutely fantastic condition as well. Really nice. So moving on then to a single which was released by Elton John of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and the B-side being One Day at a Time by Elton John, featuring Dr. Winston O'Boogie on side A, released on the 15th of November 1974 on DJM Records, catalogue number DJS340. So yes, obviously Elton John and John Lennon were hanging about quite a lot at the time. And obviously John guested on this particular version of the Lennon-McCartney classic, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And it was recorded in the summer of '74 at the Caribou Ranch with the Elton John Band. And as you can see there, just on the label, you've got the reggae guitars of Dr. Winston O'Boogie. It's a great version as well, a really great version of Lucy in the Sky. Then on the reverse to that, you got Elton John covering One Day at a Time, which is from John Lennon's Mind Games album. Also another great version. So we've reached 1975 now, and we've got number 9 Dream, with the B-side being What You Got by John Lennon, released on the 31st of January 1975 on Apple Records, catalogue number R6003. So let's take a look at the vinyl then. You've got one of those Apple die-cut sleeves, of course, in great condition. And this has to be, I would think, my favourite John Lennon song, actually. I really love number 9 Dream. Fantastic song. And it was recorded, actually, in about July-August 1974. And it only reached number 23 in the UK charts, which is, there again, is pretty poor. You had Jessie Ed Davis on the song with Nicky Hopkins, Klaus Voormann, Jim Keltner and May Pang doing them dreamy vocals. What a fantastic song. On the left there you got the catalogue number with the ATV Music Limited details and 1974 EMI Records Limited and manufactured in the UK. With an Apple record on the right there and arranged and produced by John Lennon and an EMI recording and from the album Wars and Bridges. At the bottom there you got number 9 Dream by Lennon and John Lennon. So we're going to flip that over to the B-side. On the left there, once again, you've got that catalogue number with the Lennon ATV music details and the P1974 EMI Records Limited with manufactured in the UK. And on the right there, you've got an Apple record with arranged and produced by John Lennon and EMI recording. With What You Got at the bottom and obviously composed by Lennon from the album Wars and Bridges, with John Lennon right at the bottom. So on to John's penultimate single release in the UK, and we've got Stand By Me with Move Over Mrs L on the B-side by John Lennon, released on the 18th of April 1975 on Apple Records, catalogue number R6005. So on to the single itself then, and of course you've got that Apple die-cut sleeve once again. And obviously this song was recorded during those rock and roll sessions, the hectic rock and roll sessions with Phil Spector, and obviously running off with the tapes at some point. And it was recorded around October 73, with John Lennon finishing all the songs off in October 1974 at the record plant in New York, with the likes of Leon Russell, Jim Keltner, Klaus Voormann, Hal Blaine, Bobby Keys, Louis Shelton and Jessie Ed Davis. But of course on the left there you got the catalogue number with the EMI Records Limited and the P1975 and manufactured in the UK. With on the right there produced and arranged by John Lennon there, an Apple record. And at the bottom there, Stand By Me from the album Rock and Roll and John Lennon there. And let's flip that over to the non-album track, Move Over Mrs L. Once again there you got the catalogue number on the left with the P1975 and EMI Records Limited, manufactured in the UK. And on the right there you got arranged and produced by John Lennon, an EMI recording, an Apple record. With Move Over Mrs L there, composed by John Lennon, with John Lennon at the bottom. So the final single release then by John Lennon is obviously Imagine, with Working Class Hero on the B-side, released on the 24th of October 1975 on Apple Records, catalogue number R6009. So onto the sleeve then, and you've got John Lennon Imagine there with the catalogue number below, picture of John, and bottom right, released as a single for the first time in the UK with the Apple Records logo bottom right there. Obviously it's 4 years since the release of the Imagine album. Let's flip that over. Of course you've got John Lennon Imagine there, coupled with Working Class Hero from Shaved Fish Collectible Lennon. So onto the vinyl then. And of course it was recorded at Ascot Sound in 1971, in about July 1971, with Alan White on the drums and Klaus Foreman on the bass, with the orchestrations being added at New York record plant by the Flux Fiddlers, reaching only number 5 in the UK charts. Of course, there you've got the catalogue number on the left, with the P1971 there, EMI Records Limited, and manufactured in the UK, with an Apple record on the right there, and produced by John, Yoko and Phil Spector, an Apple record, with the bottom being Imagine, and composed by Lennon and John Lennon there. Then on the B-side, of course, you've got Working Class Hero, which was recorded at Abbey Road, I believe, in about September 1970. Of course, there on the left, you've got the catalogue number, with the P1970 EMI Records Limited, manufactured in the UK. And on the right there, you've got an Apple record, produced by John, Yoko and Phil Spector, an EMI recording, with Working Class Hero there, Lennon and John Lennon underneath that. So thank you all for tuning in today, guys, and joining me. And I really hope you've enjoyed seeing those fantastic John Lennon UK 45s that I've got from my collection. And as always, I appreciate any comments or communication that I get from any of you guys. And I'll always endeavour to come back to you just as soon as I can. So next week's video will be the Solo Years episode 4 and the George Harrison Majestic album, All Things Must Pass. And it'll actually be on the anniversary date since being first released in the USA in 1970. So please make sure you're here next Sunday, same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, why not give us a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off.